Well, good Tuesday morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light. Well, the longest federal government shutdown in U.S. history may be nearing an end. More than 1 million federal workers have not been paid since October 1st. Thousands of flights continue to be canceled, and federal food programs have been interrupted.
It's a lot of interruption, Debra. Well, yesterday the Senate approved a funding compromise that does not include an extension to health care subsidies. The House is expected to vote tomorrow afternoon. President Donald Trump has signaled he'll sign it. But it's unclear if Speaker Mike Johnson has the votes from the budget-conscious members of his own party. This is getting more complicated by the day, but real people in their situations are on the line.
Yeah, and that's what they really need to be thinking about.
It's got to get it done. Well, we are already clicking and shipping Christmas to our front door, and despite rising prices, the fashion industry has plenty of bargains for the taking, and the major reason they can do it so cheaply, 2 words, fast fashion. The Morning Light panel will talk about our responsibility to check that label before we take that deal.
Love good deals. And here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Today is Veterans Day, a time to honor those who currently serve and have served our nation. We will share Veterans Day stories from 2 of our Morning Light panelists, Davis Younts and Pastor Dave Biser.
My dad, your dad served.
That's right.
Thank you, dads. Well, this Christmas season, prices on many items are on the rise as revised trade and tariff policies begin to take effect. President Trump predicted some short-term pain. He argued it's part of a larger strategy to reawaken America's dormant manufacturing sector. One area which continues to be relatively cheaper is the fast fashion industry. Now take this. Bangladesh is a key supplier of brand name clothing. The average worker in Bangladesh earns roughly $140 a month, which is significantly lower than a living wage. It's not a lot of money.
It is not a lot of money. I can't imagine that. Well, the way we shop has changed, shifting from brick and mortar stores to online shopping. With just a click of a button, clothing can be delivered to your doorstep on the same day or next day.
Have you done same-day shopping?
I haven't done same day. Have you?
It's remarkable, sure. Yeah, it comes right to you, yeah.
Wow. So demand for fast, high-quality goods is growing. Now, China leads the fashion manufacturing industry, followed by the European Union, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. America, though, is the world's largest fashion market. This year, we will spend about $365 billion on apparel. The average American owns 103 items of clothing, but throws away more than 80 pounds of it each year. I can't imagine that.
I want to know who's getting in our closets and counting, right, to get that number. Well, a poll released this summer finds more Americans are turning towards second-hand clothing, pre-owned clothing. It's not a call for better wages or more ethical standards, Debra, for garment workers. 66% of Americans say they're doing it. They're thrifting to help out the cash-strapped family budget. 70% of Gen Z say thrifting is part of their self-care routine.
I love thrifting.
There's therapy. It's therapy for you, isn't it?
Skirt, shoes, yep.
Thrifting?
Yes.
Excellent. So the question for the Morning Light panel is straightforward. Should we care for where our clothes come from? And if so, what should or can we do about it? John Wetzel, Robert William, and Michelle Keadle-Taylor will weigh in this morning. And we're going to ask you all to identify which and where your clothing was made this morning by the label. We'll start with you, Michelle, from the shoes. I'm just
I have no idea.
Kidding.
I have no idea
so,
where they were made.
People who have, by the way, happy Veterans Day to all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone who served or serving right now?
My dad did, and then my nephew is in the Navy now.
Excellent. Well,
yes.
We are grateful for their service.
Yes.
I'm going to start with you. When we talk about fast fashion, there is a movement, young people, people my daughter's age, that are in college who are really thinking about where their clothes come from. Thrifting is a big part of their life. You saw the statistics. A huge percentage of people are thrifters now. Some are doing it for ethical reasons, others just because they love to find cool stuff at low prices. Is it a big deal? Should we even care about it? Because many are saying, you know what, once it's in the store and it's packaged up, if the price is right, I'm in. Should we be thinking about the label, where it comes from?
I personally think we should. That applies to a lot of different things, obviously. Sadly, for me, I had to reevaluate my chocolate habit as well. But
explain that a little bit.
Well, Well, just how chocolate was sourced, right? And then just very much like this fast fashion industry, who is it that's having to produce this, and is it ethically produced? Are workers in other countries getting a living wage, and then how much are we paying in the markup, and how much do they actually receive? Right?
Yeah.
So it is something that I think we have to consider. It's not easy, I'll be honest with you.
Right.
It's not an easy thing, because then you have to dig in and do a little bit of research.
Right.
I think, too, just to put on the table, I think there's a couple issues, because number one, why are we trying to keep up with fast fashion? For us, like at the core of our being, why do we feel like we have to keep up and we have to keep buying new items? Obviously, things wear out, but I have been thrifting for a very long time. And then the kids, you're right, absolutely. All the younger kids, that's what their preferred method is.
Yeah. Robert, you're a big fashion guy. Tell us a little bit about how we should be thinking about this. I mean, you know, born in India, Pakistan, your neighbor there, is one of those countries who is chronically on the low end of the pay scale. And it has never been enough when you add up the dollars. Well, the cost of living is lower there. They eat so simply. They live simply. But even with that, it is not enough to support a family, and certainly not enough to send a child to college. How should we be thinking about this?
Okay, the standard of living. That's where my mind goes, you know, in terms of are we comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges?
Sure.
I mean, the cost of living is lower. To many, many families, the fact that they can work in a factory and earn better wages than they would otherwise in that context is a blessing to them, you see. So in that sense, sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle, you know, when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
Because for them, they're I won't say they're doing okay, because, you know, we're trying to compare it to when we say minimum wage and all that. That's a concept that doesn't exist, you know.
So maybe your warning on the table is make sure that when we're examining this issue, to make sure that we have a proper context for where people are living, what goods cost, and all that. Correct. Now, the analysis, though, shows that, particularly places like Bangladesh or Vietnam, that even at the higher end of that pay scale, it isn't enough to transform the way people live. John, I know you've been waiting for a topic on fashion to weigh in on this.
Well, sitting next to you, how can you not jump to fashion right away, Jeff?
So what do you think? What do you think about this? I mean, is this something you've ever thought about? Have you thought about when you drive by the thrift stores that reuse versus, because a lot of people haven't thought about thrift stores for a while. When thrift stores became a thing, most people thought, well, that's just for people on the lower end of the socioeconomic, you know, they can't afford Sears and J.C. Penney, so they go to the thrift store. But that has dramatically changed. You saw in the numbers, people who have money are saying, I'm not going to spend it here, and many are doing it for ethical reasons.
Yeah, well, it was a godsend for me with 4 daughters. That my daughters fell in love with Plato's Closet and all these secondhand stores, especially my daughter Tamara, who's still you know, spends a lot of time in those stores. So it was a godsend just from an economic standpoint for me. But this was sub-attention to me, and I really think that as Christians, we're really demanded to, when we become aware of something, to really become aware of it and then frame it within our belief. And we're required to act on things we're aware of. But the thrifting from the other end, you know, our church is partnered with Community Aid, actually, Annunciation in Lancaster. And so we have maybe 500 families who, and a lot of us donate a lot of clothes. And I think, as cold as it is with the wind blowing and stuff, I think it's a great time for us to remember that, you know, that coat, that extra coat, you know, could change somebody's life.
Yeah. We've got a lot of folks who are connected to Jubilee Ministries. We've had them on this program. Greenlight operation that you're working with has plans you've announced for a thrift store as well, correct?
That's right, yeah. And I will say, I agree. Community Aid is a great place too, and many others that have thrift stores, we support them as well and have benefited. Families have benefited from them. Greenlight operation has announced that we are partnering with Worthwhile Wear, which is coming out of the Philly area, specifically.
Say that slowly.
Worthwhile Wear.
Worthwhile Wear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming out of the Philly area. They've already successfully opened 5 stores, I think, in that area. The main purpose for it is the proceeds from that go to support the work of the restoration homes helping sex trafficking survivors. It also will provide some job skills and things like that, so that as the women and others are coming together to gain employment skills and feedback, we'll be able to utilize that.
So people and clothing not discarded.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've been in their stores too. I've found, like Debra, I found a very good purchase.
Yeah.
And I'll use it for a very long time until, I can't use it anymore. So it's a good way to help the community, but also just like some of the other thrift stores, when you're supporting by giving your clothes that you no longer want or can fit into, maybe, if you'll give them to these thrift stores, then they're helping so many families.
Right. Good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Robert, I want to ask you this. So if John raises a point, if we are aware of things, as Christians, there are certain things we think about. We think about maybe some social issues. Maybe we have an idea of what economics should be for people. We certainly have an idea about missions. But when it comes to things like this, where our coffee is sourced, where our clothing is sourced, where our, all of that, that is a blind spot from, it has been for me, where I haven't always thought about before I have purchased. So once we're aware, as John's talking about, what happens then? How do you process this? On one hand, not just heaping guilt, at Christmas you're exchanging gifts and you throw the present back saying this is not ethically sourced, right? How can we do it in love, with grace, in a way that raises awareness but at the same time doesn't stop us?
Yeah. I think to some extent we need to do a little homework, like John, excellent point, John. Once you become aware of what's happening, where is this coming from? Look at the label, for example, and if you see Bangladesh or Vietnam, whatever the country might be, let that thinking process kick in, and connect, because if you hear of these sweatshops and things like that, and seriously underpaid workers and so on and so forth. So let that kick in and pray about it.
Right.
I revert to that honestly, because it's like, does the Lord care about this decision I'm making, whether to buy this fashion brand or this other whatever line? And I think that should permeate into our decision-making process. Now, I'm not saying that based on that you need to just totally sacrifice whatever interest you might have.
Yeah.
To some extent, I come from the thought, right or wrong, that if you've earned it, you've worked hard, and you have a special, this is your thing, then within reason. You see, within reason.
But that's where I suppose we'll end it on this, that where your conscience and your relationship with God have to kick in. But I'm glad that we were all thinking about it today, and maybe we just tap the brakes a little bit before we hit click to buy. So thank you all very much. Great conversation. Appreciate it. Well, on this Veterans Day, we wanted to share why it's so important to recognize the men and the women who willingly chose to serve our country. Morning Light panelist Davis Younts shares what moment led him to enlist. Up next, you're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. On this Veterans Day, we want to share the military journey of 2 of our Morning Light panelists. We begin with attorney Davis Younts. The concept of service was instilled in Davis's family. Following the events of 9/11, he felt called to protect our nation. Davis shares why it is so important to thank those who are willing to sacrifice their lives so others can be free. Davis, thanks for being with us. Share with us how you got involved with the military.
Military service was something that was kind of a part of my family generationally. Both of my grandfathers served, one in in the Pacific, in the Navy as a Seabee in World War II. And then my other grandfather was actually lied about his age to join the Merchant Marines at the end of World War II, and then served in the Marine Corps during the Korean War. And so that was just kind of that service, that idea, that concept of service was instilled in me. So I was in law school when 9/11 happened, and for me that was a moment that said, okay, this, the country needs people, and I have an opportunity to serve. So that's when I joined.
Certainly a big decision. It changed your life, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was an incredible opportunity to serve. There's just so much you can go into about what it means and just what you learn and how you grow as an individual. But just the opportunity we have in this nation to have a voluntary force and have people that are willing to serve, it's an incredible thing to be a part of.
How did your faith really carry you through? Because I'm sure there were good times, and I'm sure there were times that were not the best.
I think that something that's so critical to our military and just our warrior ethos in this nation really is our biblical foundations as a country. So that carries over. So most of what you do in the military, the moral principles that come from even just the United States as a nation, how we think about war, how we think about the rules of war, really is all founded on that Christian foundation. So there is a neat synergy that comes. Now, there are challenges, of course, but I feel sad almost for people who don't have that when they're in deployed situations and other things where they don't have that faith. So I deployed, I was never in combat, but there were certainly things that were potential threats to us there, and my faith was just a huge part of giving me the strength to know, okay, we have a job to do, we're going to continue to do it. Doesn't matter what the threats are, let's do our job to the best of our ability.
Why is it so important to have Veterans Day?
It's actually a very small percentage of our population that ever serve in the military. And military service is something that families that haven't had someone that served or haven't served themselves have a difficulty understanding. So it is important, and it does matter to say, both to the veterans, but also their wives and their families, this really does matter. It matters that these people served. And, I feel for generationally since 9/11, I served with people, even just in the Pennsylvania National Guard, that deployed 3 and 4 times to combat in like a 12-year period. And as a nation, what matters so much to me, what matters so much to other veterans is just knowing we respect what you did. We may not fully understand it, but we want to acknowledge that you were willing to sacrifice your life for our nation and that people around you did. And just acknowledging that, it does matter.
It does, because as you had mentioned, it's just not the person enlisting, but it's the person's family and everyone else involved with them. So it does affect a wide range of people, that commitment. If someone is watching, if they have a grandson, granddaughter who's saying, maybe I should do something like this, maybe I should enlist, what is your message to them?
My message is the same as to ask why. What is it you're hoping to accomplish? How is it you're hoping to serve God in that military service? And those questions of why would you do that often lead to the right answer in those situations, because it is a hard decision. It's a very difficult decision, both for the individual and the family. But if you lean into why is it you want to do this, is it because you want to serve? Is it because you have a skill set, an ability to give something in a specific area? Then it may be a great way to learn, grow, and to honor God in your walk.
From your commitment, what is the one thing that you took away from this?
Serve to the best of your ability where you're at. And I think that's the biggest thing outside of the military service and inside of the military service. God has put you in a situation, do and serve to the best of your ability, use the skills God's given you, and you will have an opportunity to have an impact.
Davis, thanks so much for being with us and sharing this with us.
Thank you, it was an honor.
Coming up next on Morning Light, he knew he had a call to be in ministry, but was running away from it. Dave Biser went on to join the Marine Corps. Hear how God used that training to prepare him for full-time ministry. That's next. Call it his Jonah moment. Pastor Dave Biser knew he had a call to be in ministry, but didn't want to accept it. He joined the Marines after high school, and God used that training to prepare him for full-time ministry. Pastor Dave, thanks for being with us. You are a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's my privilege.
Share your experience.
So I graduated high school. I had already signed up. I wasn't a real fan of education process, so I knew I needed to do something other than college. And I figured the military was a really good opportunity for me. And so joined the Marine Corps on a delayed entry, and then left for boot camp that summer after graduating high school in 1979.
Wow.
It's been a little while ago, right? So
not that long.
It doesn't feel long ago. So was in during an all-volunteer time for the military in America, and so it was post-Vietnam. You know, the draft was over, but we were still dealing with a bunch of those issues as military. I ended up becoming an electronics person in helicopters. The squadron I was assigned to was the exact same squadron that lost 2 helicopters on the Iran hostage rescue. That was my squadron. We were frontline squadron. We were one of the top and elite squadrons, and it was a real honor to be there. We ended up in Beirut. We ended up in Grenada. We ended up in some really interesting spots and places in the world. And so we saw some action, and I really, I'm honored to have been there and have those experiences in my life. It's something you can't trade, and I think every veteran feels that way. You know, and there's something unique among veterans because of that. I think we all get each other. You know, we get it. So. Yeah.
How did your faith carry you through this journey?
You know, it's a great question. Part of my faith journey was I knew that I had a call from God to become a pastor, and I wanted to run the opposite direction. I didn't have any pastors that I wanted to emulate, and so I didn't see pastoral ministry as a real option for myself. So I thought, well, Marine Corps, that's as far away from God as you can get. My first week in boot camp, I was assigned to be the chaplain for our platoon. Wow. And I think it was God laughing at me. You know, it was my Jonah experience. Like, you're going to run the opposite direction, you're not going to get away. I went to church during boot camp, and every base that I was at, I found a church and made it a part of my life because I grew up that way. And so I needed that stability. Let me just clearly say, that doesn't mean on Friday and Saturdays I was being the best person I should have been. But on Sunday morning, I was in church and found the comfort and found the community and found the steadiness for my faith that would see me through. When I was deployed, I was part of the start of a Bible study that we did on ship that we used the ready room for flight ready stuff, and we used that for Bible study every couple days because we just needed it. We were in conflict, and we needed to know that if I'm leaving this world today, I needed to be in a good place. And you know, so when you find yourself in those situations, God really becomes brilliantly fascinating, and he shines.
Present.
He shines through. He really does. He is very present. You're right.
Why is it important to have a Veterans Day?
Yeah, our veterans extend themselves incredibly not for themselves. None of us signed up because of personal credit in some way. You know, we do it because we believe in our nation, and we believe that protecting the things that we value and protecting the people we love is incredibly important. And so I think to honor that is good for us to do, to say thank you for those who stand on the wall or have their fingers on the trigger or whatever it might be. Even those who are serving in admin positions and back behind the scenes, you know, all of that's important. Yeah, we need to say thanks. Right.
And once again, thank you.
You bet. My privilege.
Dave has been a pastor since 1989. He came to Cross Point Church in Harrisburg in 1997, where he was appointed the Vision Pastor 10 years later. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, touching hearts worldwide. The mission of the Tide is to lead as many people as possible into a life-transforming relationship with Jesus. Learn how donating new and gently used clothes, or shoes I should say, can help promote literacy in India and support businesses around the world. And that's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
Thank you, Debra. Well, 1.25 million, that's the number of Pennsylvanians who served in the armed forces during World War II. Today, that number, 3,000. Hard to imagine, but this Veterans Day may be one of our last real opportunities to express gratitude to the greatest generation. They saved the world, then came home to open hardware stores and grocery stores and car dealership. They transformed Pennsylvania. They stepped up to serve, running the Commonwealth with a sense of mission and purpose, a kind of spirit rivaled only by those who served in the years after the Civil War. Today and every day, we honor their extraordinary service. And friends, we will never, ever forget you. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thank a veteran. Go check on your neighbors. We'll be back here tomorrow morning.